Hello again. Welcome to the Brandist. Brandist being our lovely new platform as WPP Scan Group, where we have conversations, talk about what's going on in the world of media, communication, and just generally the world. And today we're going to have an even better conversation. And this one is called social listening. Is it eavesdropping or not? And joining me today is we're going to have the confessions of 3 social listeners. I'm going to start over here with Kavata. Kavata works in our Center of Excellence for Digital. So she's the internal person who's going to be speaking about, are we doing it or are we not? And then I have my next favorite person of the moment from Nenda, and he'll talk a little bit about what he does, Mark Kaiwa, who's going to talk about a little bit more around social listening. What is going on out there and what are the changes and how the world is moving in that direction. And then on my right, my third favorite person, they're all favorites, it's just the way I've introduced all of you, is we have Richard, maker, the first YouTuber, Mr. A-Star, where he began, now the guy who cleans the airwaves. We have him here to also share with us some of the nuggets, insights around social listening and where the world is going from that perspective. So as we start, maybe I'll ask each one of you to just say a little bit about yourself. Why, where, your journey, and any insight you'd like to share as we start. I start with you.
I was hoping you didn't start with me.
No, you said you wanted to follow.
But I made it your favorite, so I'm cool. So my name is Richard Njau, or people call me A-Star. I like saying that I'm a digital enabler.
Yeah.
I've been in this space from 2001. 2001, I randomly fell into the digital space because I was failing in accounting, and so I picked up web designing. And then on front page, created a website in C++, and that website exploded and went to become Kenya's second largest diaspora website in the world. But more importantly, I got something called a mental digital shift, which basically just simply meant I think digital fast. I breathe digital fast. For me, whatever solution you're looking for, the digital space. So over the years, I've been a musician. From a digital perspective, I've been at the pioneering stage of a lot of things up until today.
Yep.
So have that be WhatsApp API coming into the market, have that be Facebook, moving from highfive.com Facebook all the way into, worked for Google twice.
Yes.
I was at G+ as a community evangelist. But then after that, I came back as a YouTube enabler.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the first YouTuber in the country, but there were 4 before that. But
Well, not too bad. You're in the first set.
Yes, I enabled other people. So what that means is I went across the region, Kenya, all the way until Rwanda, sometimes even in Zimbabwe, to get people to get onto YouTube. Yeah. Formed a company called Foab Digital, where I now began doing content digital marketing. And Mark Kaigwa here.
Yes.
And you need to give this man his flowers.
Yes.
One of the people who are digitally enabled. Everybody from individuals, Caroline Mutoko, we started with her, December 14th, 2014, all the way until people like KRA, governments.
Oh my goodness. Are you sure you want to say this here?
Taxpayers' education. Stories of Ushuru. But I'm extremely passionate about digital. Along the way, I started creating content because I was creating content for a lot of people. I decided, why am I not doing this for myself? And because I had put so many rules for people about, you can only do a video for 5 minutes, and people would come to me and tell me those same rules. I'm like, no. I put those rules depending on what was happening at the time. I created CTA to break those rules. Yes. So I would not be in front of the camera. I'd only use one camera and things like that. Now I am just fast forward track till now. I run a company called Mop Entertainment, where CTA falls under. Very few clients. I like keeping it nice and intimate. But on top of that, I am in VR, and I'm a VR enthusiast. So I'm creating content for VR.
Fantastic.
Yes, so that's immersive 360.
Imagine all that. Fantastic. Yes. And you're going to tell us about all the stuff behind that when we have a conversation. Mark.
Wow, I think for me there's
You're looking dazed, Mark.
No,
what is this? What have you been listening to?
You'll see why. So there's this movie, and I'm going to age myself as a millennial by saying it. The movie was I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah, so at least at Nendo to some degree, and I always have to give a caveat, but I have some idea, or I know what you did the last hour, the last evening, the last week, the last year, at least as far as the public content that people produce. And so at Nendo, what we do is we deliver what we call grounded African insights and trends. And so the idea is that for us, we are a problem-solving agency that really, again, when you're boutique, you get to pick and choose your clients, but solving continental-sized challenges anywhere that the internet, a mobile phone, or social media is concerned. And it can be down to USSD and a very basic phone, but all the way up, because sometimes we forget that this digital transformation, like something we published a few years ago, which is a great example of our trends, is that people economize megabytes. So we're right now in a nice studio with nice cameras. Anybody watching this, the majority of people who consume this are likely possibly even to skip over everything we're doing now and only get snippets, social media snippets, tight, vertical, and those will do perhaps 100 times, and this is the guy who can tell us better than the podcast long form itself. And that's partly also because people will make an economic decision. How many megabytes do I want to use? And it's not as much as you think.
You don't think about that, actually. You don't even think it's a megabyte. What you're thinking is they're listening. Actually, they're watching. How much more can I consume?
No, but you'd be surprised. People, I mean, it's a question we ask all the time. Who taught you what a megabyte was? Right? You only figured it out outside of the cyber cafe when you see that, oh, my data's over. I can't access anymore. And so we don't get taught what it means to have one. We get taught through the feeling of not having them. And so for us, we study people's beliefs and behavior around how they interact with technology and their fellow people, from seniors, right? We're talking retirees. You'd be surprised what they're doing in e-commerce. Very overlooked, overrated, and yet they've got the pockets and the purses to spend, to down to toddlers, teens, and everyone in between.
Yeah, fantastic. No, you're going to share some of these insights. I remember every time you're the person who dropped it for me, that TikTok uploads 1.2 million videos a day, and I tell you, till now that number still boggles me. I tell it to everybody I know, and I think one of the things is I say, so then how do you stand out? Why be there is 1.2 million? Anyway, and let's hear from Kavata.
I'm Kavata Wafula. I am the head of digital media at WPP Scan Group under the digital COE. I've recently come back home. I don't know whether it's recent, but about 2 years now. I've been had the privilege of working in other WPP markets across the continent. So it's a great pleasure to be back home. So I call myself a change activator, and I call myself that because every single assignment that I have received in my career has been, go and do this in this particular location. Let's fix what's happening in that local market. Let's empower the local teams, and then bring that expertise into the organization to ensure that we're actually getting specific local nuances for those markets. What we usually say as well is, because everybody has an opinion these days, how do you ensure that you stay in culture? Not because of just the brands that you're working with, but also the people that you work with, because at the end of the day, they also bring in some contributions to the table to solve whatever brand problems that you do have. But then there's also been such a drastic shift in what digital used to be a couple of years back, whereby, I say I was one of the digital pioneers because Squad Digital was the first digital agency in Kenya. And
it had a pool table.
Exactly.
And everything else,
And one of my roles was actually to go on ground and run activations and campaigns. So basically that event coverage. And I remember those days would take pictures with our phones and upload the pictures directly with captions. But that evolution has come a long way in that now we have templates. Now we have content creators directly on the platform so that you can get that work out properly. Even the way you're shooting right now is very, very different so that we can plug that content in. And then also I'll go back to this social listening. There's so many compliance rules that we need to follow in terms of privacy, because I think Google is the only platform that right now has not deprecated its cookies. But when you look at other platforms like Safari with Apple or Microsoft, you actually have to get somebody to opt in to see your ads. YouTube is actually charging for you to not see their ads. Meanwhile, we are trying to pay YouTube so that they can see our shows. So the industry has shifted so drastically that you have to be in culture, you have to be very agile in how you adapt to what's happening within the industry so that you're not left behind. As I work at WPP's Can Group, I don't look at myself as, oh, I'm working with one of the big giants. I'm looking at myself like, there's that small agency, there's that small guy that is actually about to take up what it is that I'm offering because they're bringing something different to the table. So how do I stand out? And how do we stand out so that we offer a solution to our consumers? And then up until recently, I'm learning to blow my own horn. I'm a Laurie's judge, which is a fit in the digital and advertising industry. And I was recently named one of the top 25 ladies in digital in 2024. So yay to me.
Yeah.
And that's about me.
Yeah, okay. Lovely. So now let's talk about social listening. Because we're saying, is it eavesdropping? What actually is social listening? When you say listen, you assume there's a loud noise and you're there. I can hear you. I can hear you. What actually is social listening? Let's try and unpack. What is it? Because I think for me, as the world moves into digital. In fact, when I first went into this industry, I'd meet clients and they'll tell me, oh, we want more digital. We want more digital. I'm like, but what is digital? Is it what I see on social media? Is it the paid ad I put? Is it the YouTube? What actually is digital? But now we have different conversations, social listening. Because then the next thing is, yeah, I've done that, but how many times have I appeared? Am I getting value? Am I in the right place? So maybe you can each just help me understand, when we say social listening, are we eavesdropping on conversations, or are we trying to measure, or are we paying to understand how much has been spent where and who's listening where? Which direction is it? I don't know. I start with you.
Yeah,
this
sure.
is your passion, and I love listening.
Yeah.
You could talk to this.
Sure. So I think it's just what you said. So with social media, we've gone through an evolution from text. So for example, the first version of Twitter, now known as X, you would actually SMS.
Yes.
And Safaricom and Airtel and other telcos famously even got to the point where there were people who figured out that these texts were free, but they were the size of an SMS. So there's a late chief by the name of Chief Karaoke, and again, I'm aging myself here, but he used it famously for a very tiny village in a part of Nakuru where you would just basically keep up with village life through this guy, because what he told people is at the baraza, everybody SMS my name to this number and you'll get free texts from me. So we started from a text-based world. And even in the earlier days of YouTube, part of the unique aspect of it was, okay, it's video, but everyone's conscious of what? Megabytes, just like I said.
Right.
And so now we're in a place where, I think as I had mentioned, you have a data bundle specifically for TikTok that is 10 shillings for 1 gigabyte of TikTok only data. YouTube has the same thing. And you have multiple people saying, I want to have you unlearn the fear, the hesitation, the way you tense up, not as us, as everyday Kenyans, to just being able to consume video on your phone. It won't break your budget or the bank. And so in this video world, social media listening looks quite different.
But you say that, yet I watch people endlessly watching videos on something. So where is that consciousness you're saying to the megabyte?
20 kilometers, any direction from where I'm seated right now. It's not here. It's not in this air-conditioned upscale. It's not in an office. It's we are going to have to go on the ground. And it's why Fernando, we quickly realized in the first couple of years, I can show you 10 million things Kenyans have said on social media. I'll snap my finger and I'll show you now. Right? I'll arrange dashboards. We'll play with the words. And we realized we have to also go to the ground. So we built a whole practice of from phone calls to surveys to focus groups, etc. Because there's sometimes a contradiction, right? Online, I might be vocal, right? But you talk to me, you engage me, or I tell you how I really feel. it's a bit different. And so that contradiction is part of this new sort of peculiar Kenyan 2.0.
Yeah.
But social media listening, simply put, is plugging into social media platforms. So some like TikTok, for instance, which is not great. You can't plug in directly.
Yeah.
Facebook has really closed all the pipes.
Yeah.
There's still a very small, trickle out. But Twitter, now X, still has the biggest one.
Yeah.
And so you have, tens of millions of updates. And from there, you can find out competitive intelligence, because I'll see all the complaints.
Yes.
I can map out which parts of the country have had the most power blackouts in the last year. Why?
Yeah.
I'll show you all the people who complain and how quick they do.
Yes.
I'll tell you which home internet provider is doing great, is doing poorly.
Yes.
And I can reverse engineer success. If I'm a new player in the market, I need social listening, because it saves me school fees, right?
Yeah.
And I get to learn the market. But you're learning from what we call a very vocal class of Kenyans.
Yes.
And particularly those on somewhere like Twitter, whereas, some of the
Okay,
stats tell us.
I will repeat. I said it the last time. I'm petrified of X, formerly known Twitter. I mean, if there's one place where, I feel it has to be bold. There's, I almost feel that it's a one platform which has got no guardrails to speak. And it's almost like everybody who's on X feels that they can say whatever it is they want to say. Yeah. And so I always ask, when somebody chooses to put something on X, you have to be very brave. I don't know, do you put your content on? And what is the feedback you get from it? I mean, it's one of the things.
Everywhere for different reasons.
Yeah.
So first of all, let me just say, sometimes these words are thrown out and people already switch off because social listening, what's that? Out of that, that's for people who only speak digital.
Yes.
So for me, I think of it in very layman's terms. First and foremost, even before we get to the listening, like majority of people may do, ask yourself where you headed. Let's imagine we're in a car, where we headed to. So I'll be like, I'm here, I'm in Nairobi, I want to get to Mombasa. Think of Mombasa as the vision, the goal, the aim, the mission. That's what it is that we're trying to do. Then number two, where am I going? Who am I going with? So think of that now as a target audience. So in my car as a driver of this thing, I'm going with like about 8 people in my van. Now, as you're driving there, listen then to the feedback that these people will give you. I say it's so important even before
That's a fantastic analogy, by the way, when you put it that way. Yeah.
Thank you. Even before we start, because everybody has an opinion.
In that car.
Class, I'll give an example of CTA.
Yeah.
When I started CTA, I was a musician. And because I was a musician, I wanted to hear the stories of the industry.
Yes.
Because I was privileged to have people in the industry mentor me. And as a way to give back, I had access to people.
Yes.
So as a way to give back, I would put a camera and have candid conversations with them.
Yeah.
But then I started going through business challenges, leadership challenges, and entertainment wasn't as funky for me as the conversations that I wanted to get.
Yeah.
But the audience was telling me, but the people who were in my car with me, or not even my car, outside, or even some of them in my car, wanted me to stay in this box.
Yes.
You get?
Yes.
But my vision is telling me it is growing and forming, and now I want to begin having conversations with people on business. Julian Kula, people, Solomon Wangwe, about how do I scale my business?
Yes.
How do you... So if I only listened to the feedback that I was getting because of the good that I had done, I would not be sitting here.
Yeah.
Good is the enemy of great.
Yeah.
So you have to have in mind your vision and your target audience as you then go to the different social media platforms to get feedback. So that, and by the way, trolling is still a form of social media feedback.
Exactly.
So,
It is.
I'm okay. I get trolled a lot of times. That guy interjects all the time. That guy does that. But I'm like, no problem. I know where exactly that I'm headed with my vision clear and my values clear. Even the suggestions that I get, if they're adding and enabling me to get to my destination faster, easier, cheaper, better, I will listen.
I guess for me, the next question is, and I think this is where I'm going to listen to, for us who work and listen, budgets these days, everybody's saying digital, and rightfully so, because that is the space, that's where I communicate and everything else. Everything is moving to the digital space. But then the next question comes. I was sitting in a room the other day where they were saying, no, but tell me, this spend that you're putting here, is it hitting the target? And then you're busy saying, this has been blocked, that has been blocked, that has been blocked. So I guess the question I want to ask is, the reality is everybody's going to commercialize everything, because data now is a new shilling, is a new dollar, is a new yen, is a new everything. how are we going to get there when the fact is everything is being commercialized? Yet you're being asked, I want to know, right? Who am I speaking to? Are they the right audience? And then on top of that, what are they saying about me if everything is getting blocked, as you said? So how are we going to deal? How do we deal with some of those things? And I have both of you chip into that conversation.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question that you bring up, and I'll build on what Richie is saying about you need to know who your target audience is, because you'll get a lot of feedback, and it's very important to know how to filter out the noise so that you get the context of what feedback you're getting. Is it around what it is that you've actually tried to achieve, so that you get actionable insights out of it. The second thing I'll say is that everybody says, it's all moving to digital. And when we look at budgets specifically and compare the amount that is being spent on digital platforms versus traditional platforms, if I may put them like that, there's actually a bit of a disparity. And this is because either, the clients that we work with still have a larger target audience that can be reached via traditional mediums, but also there is an assumption that digital will achieve more than what it is that you can achieve with other platforms. And rightly so, because on digital you can measure immediately, you can get feedback immediately, you can course correct immediately. It's just how fast you need to react so that you're not left behind by the feedback that you're getting. So I think there is still a journey to go with regards to this budget conversation, what digital can achieve for you, and what platforms on digital can achieve for you, depending on the objective that you're trying to achieve at that particular time.
So Mark, you said that you're able to get around the blocks. So I want to understand how that happens. But I think the bigger question I also have is around when you're listening, and people know you're listening, they may not be telling you the truth. How do we know? You know when people are in the next room and they know you're listening, and they'll say what they want. It may not be necessarily the truth. And then the second thing that I find a lot of time with social media, how do you filter out the biggest noisemaker, who's just a noisemaker, but it may not be the general sentiment of what, is something is being said. How do you do that? Because as you said, there's bullying, isn't there? There's trolling. So the trollers are the loudest and they're the noisiest. So if you follow them, are you going to kill what you're doing from a strategy, or are you not? How do you filter those kind of things?
Yeah, I think first part I think is speaking for Nendo, we're regulated now by the Office of the Data Privacy, Commissioner and data protection, and the ACNA is there. So for us, we've always pursued, not just because we have international clients, but we hold ourselves to a high standard. Very transparent, responsible uses of the tools and technologies and practices that we have, because it is. There sometimes are ethical questions as to how are you getting this data, to what degree are you storing it, are you anonymizing and aggregating it, is it personally identifiable, and so on. So the first thing is, I think we take great lengths, I think longer and maybe more than some other firms to just make sure we're doing the right thing there. But think of it less similar to what Richie said. Think of it less as someone is listening, and more everyone wishes someone was listening. Because the way that it is now in this attention economy, it's actually the opposite. We have an abundance of content. So with the most respect for the, and I mentioned to you those calculations we did, at least 1.3 million TikTok videos posted, 1.33, whatever, every single day.
You keep adding that number. It keeps
but
growing.
That's the exact number.
There's 49 million views.
I could get to the, I was probably short.
Who are these people?
So that exact number, with the most respect for everybody posting, the vast majority of them are probably almost unwatchable, right? So I'm being sincere, right? So
we had a conversation around that another time around. TikTok allows you to just put the camera, say whatever it is, and dump.
That's right. That's right. Right. And you've got dance talk. You've got so the music part of TikTok huge. You have food talk, comedy talk, fashion talk, book talk, makeup talk. So exactly. So everybody is desperate for attention.
Yes. Yep.
By any means.
Yes.
And so there's
and by a means sometimes.
That's right. And so, you have legitimate people, but for the most part, people would desire that attention. So when we talk about listening, we have to first look that people are feeling incentivized to just try to pursue this. So there's some research that came out in April this year that we've cited where the number 3 career for Gen Z now, and this is before the protest, right? Is number 1 is self-employed or starting your own business. Number 2 is doctor. Tied with doctor, so tied for second place, is TikToker or influencer. That's right.
Doctor and TikToker.
That's right. So of every single career that a person 29, so I think it's like 17 through. Oh well, they didn't.
Doctor and a TikToker or
exactly.
a TikToker.
And so people are saying, and I've heard it before, and I see it with the people at our team everywhere else. I am career X or pursuit X of income and a content creator. So everybody has that / content creator. So in an attention economy, social listening is just observing because people are going to post no matter what. You're just trying to responsibly observe. Now you're observing brands, you're observing businesses, you're observing trends, you're expanding, you're looking at beliefs and behavior, right? And you're doing this for non-profits, for everyone, because there's also, like you said, an intense amount of noise. So the actual hard work is what I'd call the sifting through, right? And figuring out what's actually meaningful. So just similar to what Kavata said, not everything on digital that can be measured is meaningful. So we see a massive mistake, and at Nendo, like this time of year, December, is one of our most popular times for what we call digital audits. And you'd be surprised the vanity metrics people still follow up with and follow through, right? Even right now, one of our big trends for next year is a concept we call zero-click content. The last 10 years, everyone has said, click and come to my site. Now, all these algorithms are punishing you if you include a link, right? Anywhere. And people are like, no, but I want the traffic. And I'm like, I'm sorry, even Google won't let you.
I was told.
You'll be charged more.
They charge you more. So I was told hashtags. And I'm sitting there thinking, we had our stream, which is our regional conference, and the team was sitting down and saying, actually, sometimes if you hashtag, it punishes you, which is going against what we've always thought. The more you put, the more it's going to pick. Is that the case? I mean,
completely. I've said this for years. Content is king. The royal digital family. Content is king. Social media is queen. Dot. Not your website. Nobody cares about the website that you put all this money in. The audience is here. Figure out how to speak to them in this place.
They're not going to start going back somewhere else, the back office somewhere to go and check.
Number 2, even within social media, there's constant change happening. The agility word that she used is so important in digital. Don't build a brick house. Don't build a stone house. Operate in a tent. We're in tent mentality right now. Perfect example, I'll say what I do. I do interviews. I've just interviewed a guy called Philip Karanja. Are you seeing that shameless plug that I've put? Intentional, clever. But I've just interviewed him. But let's say a 10-hour interview. I'm going to have to chop up that whole 10-hour interview for TikTok in this format. I'm not about to try and make that TikTok generation because I got used to something and it worked for me. Now change and become like me. I'm the one who has to change and package content the way they want. Now here's the most incredible thing. There are people who are watching 94 episodes of CTA on TikTok. On TikTok. Again, you talked about digital spend. The beauty of agility is something called algorithm. Change is constant. I say on digital, change is constant. I remember when everybody was trying to get likes. Likes, subscribers, honestly speaking, in 2024 mean absolutely
and in 2025?
Nothing. And even in 2025, let me even say, sorry, in 2025, likes, subscribers in 2025 mean nothing. Absolutely nothing. The algorithms, because of TikTok not being uprooted like Snapchat, and I'm not even Snapchat, like the way the big tech companies do. So they force the other platforms to change the manner in which they send out content to people. No longer is it about you becoming, and remember even during the...
So tell me, let me understand that. When you say likes don't matter, what matters then? What is that thing?
Value.
Is it the value meaning?
Matters. Value to your audience. So this is what happens. I've shot this piece of content that we're shooting. The algorithm, because a lot of them are that's why shorts came up, that's why reels came up. It's all algorithm based. They are going to test this content
Yes.
with a sample size.
Yes.
10 people.
Do they like it?
6
How
people
will
come
they
back.
know?
Because they can see watch time, they
Yes.
can see engagement,
They can see how many saves, how
Yes,
many
exactly.
saves, how many
That-
shares.
They're going to be like, oh, this guy spent this out of the 10,
Yeah.
6 guys spent, and a lot of them, 6 guys completed, and even one of them came back and
Yes.
watched. Now let's not give it to 10 people.
Let's
Let's give it to 100. So you're suddenly seeing people
Yeah.
with 2,000 likes
Yes.
with videos with 2 million.
Yes.
And let me say what Mark said.
Yeah.
Mark talked about a generation. When I started working as a YouTube enabler, there were 4 YouTubers in the country. Kangai Mwiti, This Is S, and 2 others. And that's 2014. Right now, if Rutonomics allows and TikTok starts giving money
Yes.
to a generation,
Yes.
Doctor is going to become number 3
Yes.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because the amount of money that is being put into people from YouTube now add, thank God, because now monetization has opened up for Facebook. So content creators now even going back to Facebook.
Yes.
Now, if TikTok happens and our government is in conversations for that to happen, expect that number to
go up again.
Yeah.
So here I am trying to get some engagement. How will the how do I sift out from using the social listening tools to make sure that that content does exactly what you're saying? That it doesn't matter about the likes, that the algorithm is going to test it and expand it. I mean, because that's the end game, isn't it? If you're trying to make sure your content has a buzz reach. Huh?
Can I throw something in there?
Throw.
You've said something that what's more successful, somebody with 10 million likes or somebody with 10 likes?
10 million likes. I'd imagine when they like it, but some people may like it without seeing it. They
So-
just click it automatically.
I'll give an example.
Yes.
I put out an event the other day, and that event I was charging 30,000 shillings for
Yes.
the ticket, but I wanted a specific target audience. If you note, before I even get to this world of content creation,
Yes.
I always start with vision
Yes.
and target audience.
Yes.
Because if you've got 10 million people all in a different country, all that cannot purchase your product,
Yes.
all watching that, and the ROI on that is 0,
Yes.
that's absolutely useless.
Okay.
This event I was charging 30,000 shillings for
Yes.
ticket.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's a certain demographic, and I wanted a certain level of leadership people in the room. So at the end of the day, my success is based on the people who
Yeah.
come to the event pay at the end of the day.
Yes.
So again, measurement has to be more than just likes, views, death by views. The thing people are doing for
Yes,
views.
yes.
That's why, I'm saying this and
Yes,
I'm keeping
yes,
quiet.
yes.
That's why YouTube bans.
Yes.
That's why YouTube back in the day when they introduced thumbnails.
Yes.
Because people would put a thumbnail of something
Yes.
raunchy and sexy to get the thing.
Yes.
And watch time with that would be 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's why they brought in the concept of watch time.
Yes.
And all these other different metrics. Okay, I'm quiet.
No, I was enthralled with what you were saying, because half the battle we face, at least in our industry, is the vanity metrics that,
Yes,
that
yes.
Mark talked about.
Yeah.
And you've talked about views, you've talked about likes. But from an engagement perspective, a view on Meta is 3 seconds. So that's counted as a view. When I look at the retention of my video, has my message actually been passed? Because maybe from a retention rate perspective, the views dropped at 5 seconds. So that means I've gotten the views as a vanity metric, but it has not necessarily done the job that I needed it to do. And that's why we need to dig deeper into a lot more performance metrics that we can measure, like your conversion, your ROI,
Yes.
so that it actually makes sense for the business at the end of the day.
But isn't that where then you kick in, Mark, when you sit down and you say, okay, those social listening reports, out of this, these are the number then who, because based on the comments that they give, I guess that is part of the message that whatever you're communicating is getting through. Is that part of it as well? And then you're able to figure out the sentiment from that perspective? Or
Yeah. I think the way I'd look at it is I probably have a bit of a different take, but I agree in principle.
Yes, and I know this argument because these guys are bringing a new dimension here.
So I think
here we are being beaten every day. I want likes. I want what? You should see me. I click something. Ooh, 333 views. Ooh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the 333 people who looked And all they did is they just looked at it, and then they didn't even see it to the end, right?
True, but I mean, on the internet, 90% of people, it's called the Wikipedia rule. There'll be lurkers.
Yeah.
So even with this podcast,
Oh my gosh,
they're just going to look and leave.
Yes.
All they leave is a little.
It's like
little,
today, they're watching. Who are these guys? Okay, what are they saying? Okay, next.
Correct, because the question even here, on onset, offset, is how many of us have edited a Wikipedia page?
Yes.
Probably down to maybe 0 or 1.
I think.
Correct, but we've all used it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so when you do that, we have this pyramid we draw, and so the vast people, they'll see, but they won't. And then 9% of people will like, share, comment, leave some bit more metadata, and then sometimes across Africa, it's 1% or a fraction of a percent who are creating. And so you're looking at a very, very small but influential audience.
Yeah.
And then when you zoom out and you ask, well, how many people are there on X, formerly known as Twitter? In January of 2024, it was 1.8 million, 70+% men. In fact, this was one of the X, formerly known as Twitter, its best years, because women finally came back, and a lot more people who had uninstalled and completely forgotten it came back in June. Because with the protests, you couldn't just be on an island somewhere with everything else.
I
all was scrolling through the
I
timeline.
came back, and I'm a woman. So both.
Correct. So there's a lot of lurkers there. But Facebook is 17 million strong.
Are you sure you didn't mean mom's book?
It's correct.
We all love,
Or dad's book.
we all love
But
Facebook.
again, the reason that Facebook
fun,
is important, because many people say, I haven't posted on Facebook in 2 years, and I'm like, you're right.
Yes.
But it's not for us here.
Yes.
It's because Facebook has an agreement with the telcos here for what's called free Facebook.
Yes.
It doesn't have text. It doesn't have images. It doesn't have video.
Yeah.
But it's a lifeline for people. Why?
Yeah.
They're not spending their megabytes. Back to that insight from Nendo. So back to social listening. On the report, a lot of it will be, one, to your previous question, there's a lot of noise. So for the years we've been publishing at Nendo of what we call trend jackers. So you're rightfully looking at this list of trending topics, and you can't find what in the world the actual thing is. Why? Someone's selling laundry, someone else selling shoes, someone else selling laptops, and they're basically hijacking what's trending to sow their own messages.
Exactly.
And there's essentially this set of marketers, if I can call them that, with the most respect for them, who have said, this is working for me. But it's creating what we call information pollution, because then you have to eliminate that. So there are brands who are saying, look at all these, and then we'll come in, and at Nendo we have, using AI, big buzzword now, but we've been using it for a while, and machine learning, a way to eliminate that noise to get what we call the true view of brands. When you have that, you've eliminated the brand itself, you've eliminated its influencers, because hashtags, that reason I don't like them. Elon Musk, by the way, I thought you were going to say this. In the last 24 hours, Elon Musk said, I hate hashtags, stop using them, right? Which of course is like, from the guy on the platform that invented them, is a shocker. But genuinely, it's a question. I think they say 3 is the sweet spot. You could use 5, a dozen. And it depends, right? Like some people on TikTok will swear by them, big creators who say this is working for me. Low-key, this is my secret sauce.
My source. This is it.
So I think with the reports, the big challenge with any research is always the so what and what next. You can show me numbers, you can show me graphs and charts, but can you tell me what it means? Very few can. And can you tell me what to do with it? The implication, literally, I mean, on those reports, we'll put it in the first slide, is what the report was paid for. And oftentimes people can load up. I mean, there's social media marketers who they know how to take screenshots and they know how to show all the charts and graphs. Many content creators, but can I show you that I'm a difference maker for your brand? And then the last grenade I'll throw before stopping is, I think engagement is one of the metrics that needs, at least for brands, not for everyone else, for brands it needs to die. And I want to tell you why. Because
what do you call engagement? When you say engagement,
so when I say
what do you
engagement,
mean?
I mean the pursuit of where people say, I'm looking. So you visit your brands like digital real estate. And you're like, the likes are very low. There's hardly anyone commenting. Let's just be clear about something here, and I hope brands are watching. Nobody wakes up and asks, what did this brand do today? They come on in a very utilitarian way. And nobody in this age where all I have to do is swipe that way will open the keyboard to come and say, oh, let me tell you, and start typing, unless there's a purpose. We're in a world where it's video, and in fact, some of these platforms, they scroll for you. So you don't even have to swipe. It will swipe for you. And you're asking people, at least in some cases, I know there's clients who come and ask agencies and say, the engagement is low. So I look at it as value on one part, but reach. The biggest biggest, most underrated metric is reach.
Yep.
Yes.
And guess what? Traditional media gives you, in many cases,
The reach,
it might not
the
give you a
reach.
lot,
Yes.
but it will give you reach.
Yes.
Even for people who are economizing their megabytes.
Yes.
And that's typically why you can expect them to stick around.
Yeah.
Of the 10 most searched words on YouTube in Kenya the last 5 years.
Yes.
Then, I mean, I'll just say, even this year alone.
Citizen,
I didn't want to say who,
2024.
Yes.
but
Yeah,
exactly.
I know,
People are
I
basically
know.
they're saying,
Yeah.
I want to watch, the
But you
news.
see, they're
and-
watching it on digital.
Yes.
Very different.
It's
as
where
compared-
the way they're watching it.
Correct.
It's no longer the box in your sitting room,
Yeah.
living room at the front
But
there.
guys, don't forget that is a demographic that is able to actually stream TV. Not everybody can, but it is what I do. Now, you said a grenade, and it is a grenade.
Yeah.
Because the platforms themselves push specific metrics.
That's true.
And that is what we look at, right? I was reading something yesterday that was reposted on Instagram. And basically, he was unpacking why engagement is important, but specific metrics around engagement. So not necessarily your likes or because comments are great, then you at least get to know what an engaged user wants to do, especially if it's not trend jacking or trolling. But then there is all these other things
Shares.
like the shares, the sends, the saves, which means that content has actually engaged. So maybe the mindset that we need to drive as industry leaders is the conversations we have with our clients around the metrics that do matter. So we don't focus on the vanity ones, and especially the platforms that we partner with, because they're the ones that are driving this narrative. For a long time, it was likes. They've kind of shifted as well. So
I'm in the game of a lot of what I build digital authorities. I build authorities, not digital authorities. I build, so I've worked with various different people in all industries, anything from doulas all the way until CEOs. One of the things that I do, I first ask them, have your family watched the video? So my measurement is awareness, brand love, and ROI.
Yes.
It starts in that exact order.
Yeah.
So I first asked them, okay, now that you came on the platform and you had a conversation with me, did your family watch it? That one, yeah. My family watched it. They probably shared it to the family. I'm like, okay, let's go to level 2. Alumni. Have your alumni watched it? Hey, yeah, by the way, my alumni, this, that, the other, this, that, the other. I'm like, okay, fine. Now I tell them, when you are walking, the day a stranger randomly stops you, call me and tell me. 2 days don't pass, and that happens. So now it begins, a whole bunch of strangers begin seeing you.
Yes.
And it is the weirdest person. It is the watchman, it is the bartender,
Yes.
it is this other person. And then it moves to the point of, okay, in fact, anybody who ever comes to CT, I tell them, ensure you have fixed your back end in terms of customer, because you're going to get calls.
Yes.
And it shifts all the way until the point where 99% of the people who call you, and now they're calling, hey, I saw you on CT, and you're the land guy, and I'd like to buy land from you. But here's the thing. They're not coming, and this is why I was bringing this conversation in. They're not coming to consume the ROI of the thing that you bought because you talked about it.
Yeah.
It is because of the small things that you talked about. They're like, oh my God, this person was a single mom like me. There's an emotional connection that happens from the other side of the story that begins making them give you trust. I say the currency of trust is insane. Because you are vulnerable, that currency now begins passing through that, oh, by the way, if this person is the person behind this product, then I trust this product. So what you're going to see without a doubt in 2025 is the influencer being the CEO of the company. And the CEO will have to not come there to talk about the products, but to share their personal thing and humanize themselves. And that trust transfer that the person holds will then begin to permeate into the products, into the services that the company offers.
Which is the core of marketing, isn't it? But there's a point that you made. You could sell, but then the product also has to be good. There's nothing worse than you doing that. They come and then they find that, oh my goodness, it falls through. So
but you see, the days of Omo, we had no idea. We all knew the ads. We all knew Omo need a movie.
Yeah. I was there, and we made them all wash, and then they'll come back and say this and the other, and you change their story again. But those were the fun days because it was a year before you changed and you gave them a different story. So good luck. And I'm not going to listen to what you have to say real time thereafter. But I think as we close this conversation, there's something I want to ask, and then we figure out how we turn it around a lot more positively. Because social listening is so key, because the messages, the points, the things that I am trying to understand, because if this is the future of how we're going to communicate, how we market, how we sell, how we brand, and everything else, the question I would like to ask, at what point do you start to sift out what is positive versus what becomes negative, and then figure out how you fix? How do you deal with what we call the bullying, the trolling, and all those things, and the impact those things may have on your brand? And then try and figure out, are they weighty enough or are they not? I think that's something I'm trying to figure out. How do you deal with that? So if, for example, somebody says Patricia is useless, and somebody else catches on Patricia is also, oh, she doesn't know what she does, and then it becomes a lovely story that you're listening, you're watching, all the social reading is telling you that. How do you separate that bit of trolling and the impact that they may have vis-a-vis what may be the truth? Is, I think, the future of how we deal. Because remember, people could look at a brand and decide, no, I drank it yesterday and it had a fly in it, 1 out of 1,000,000. Then everybody, yeah, it's terrible that it had a fly in it, And then all the listening is going to say, you guys, your brand is not great because you had a fly. One person had a fly in it. How do we use that now going forward to change narratives so that then, it becomes, you drive a more positive message from a social listening perspective? I think I'm trying to get to the question around, it's all very well the positive sides we drive. How do we use social listening to help address issues and separate what is a rightful issue vis-a-vis what is an issue which is around, creating dissonance for a brand in some way? Yeah. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Can I chime in for this one?
Yeah.
Let me say this. Not only that, we've not talked about AI and deepfake.
Yes. Deepfake in particular, yes.
So not only are you going to be having this, so Sora, for example, has gone live. So creating a video is like, granted it's got its logo here and there's rules and regulations. So we are entering a whole new level of this thing that we've never been in before. Because I'm going to be able to take this video, clone your voice. We saw it happening with Trump kissing Kamala, and that we know that AI is fake. But then we also saw Omtata and the senator, and we're like, hold on, that one looks a bit.
Is it real?
Looks a bit crazy. Like I could have believed it. And to be honest, some demographic are going to believe that particular claim.
Yes.
So this thing is checking into the next level.
Yes.
There has to be a way where you control your narrative. There has to be a place where, and now it's not just blue ticks, because again, platforms allow anybody who's put an underscore on your name to have a blue tick and appear as the genuine person. Yes. So there has to be a place where you're constantly talking as the brand, that people know. Granted, I saw this here, but let me go back to the Wikipedia in an essence that they control. You see the way people are going to Citizen News Live because they know they're not going to all the other sites or all the other YouTube channels that are recasting that. They're going to the genuine because of the importance of the consistency that they have been doing this. So there's a place where content creation isn't just a thing you do on the side. Content creation is a must for survival. I always say, if you're not content creating, how are you packaging your vision? If you're not content creating, that means other people are telling your narrative for you. So what happens as you consistently do that, there will be a way that people will be like, okay, I know the space and the place where constant conversations are happening. Like this YouTube channel, I know this will be the place where that happens. So in that space, CTA, for example, let me just use myself, I read the space where people come to talk about me on my platforms. Every day, without a doubt, I go to my YouTube channel, I read the comments, I get the feedback. Those people have moved from viewer to consumer to ambassador. So I know, even I've segmented my audience that I know, this is just a viewer that is new here. This one here is a consumer. This one, even if I tell them to attend an event, they will attend an event.
Show up. Yeah.
This one here, this one is sold out.
Yes.
This one has become an ambassador that telling other people about me. So I'm just trying to say, when I get feedback or when I read feedback, I first analyze them. Is this a viewer, ambassador? What level of audience
where do I
they?
place them?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And that's all part of it. Yeah. Okay.
I think for Adnendo, one of the big mistakes we see brands making is they misunderstand the motivations that people have when they come to complain publicly. So we just did a webinar with some partners, clients, brands, because some people will take it personally. But for us, there's two ways that a person will come online to complain. Many times they'll come what we call off stage. Off stage is, I called you, I tried to raise an issue, I emailed you, I wrote a WhatsApp, and I came to the DM, or I came to the private inbox. You delayed, or you denied, or you deferred, and just sort of like distracted, right? Or you forgot. All right, now I'm coming publicly. I previously wanted an answer as the consumer. Now I want an audience. I want to complain, and I want you and you to see it. And now we're having a little party now in the comments underneath. I'm being sincere. And so what we find is that you have to show people. That's the difference between social media monitoring and listening. Monitoring, I see the replies. Right? What he opens up is he sees the dashboard with the comments. What I can show him is every person who's mentioned CTA and not tagged you. And said Richard Zhao and mentioned your guests. Because they're not talking to you. They're talking to each other. This part here is where the gold mine is. Because no one put them up to this. They came to say it. In this case, they'll complain. They'll give you the true unfiltered, unsolicited feedback. And here what you have to do is find it. Most people don't. So guess what they see? In the management WhatsApp group, crisis. By that point, it's too late. It's too late, right? And what they're doing, they're calling the agency now, saying, hey, Patricia, what are we doing about this? Bail me out. But by that time, what we found is brands have to be resilient. So for us to bring them the software, the services, the support to really help them get proactive. And the other thing to just know about complaints is that brands, at least in Kenya right now, are seen as utilities. If you're doing great, I have no business telling you. That's why I pay you. So keep doing your job because it's much like the electricity and the internet and everything else.
It's part of what I expect.
Correct. So another mistake we see brands doing, saying, I want to measure positive sentiment. Terrible decision. Because I know the black magic to make all those numbers go up. Vanity metrics. And in fact, some brands have made a very tough bed where they are having to pay people all the time to say good things. And I hate to say it because that's the wrong thing to measure. So for some brands, we help them get comfortable saying the negative went down by 5%. And that's good for you. Yeah, but they're still complaining. They're complaining less about something different. So be happy with that. But I think when we know the motivations, it helps us make smart decisions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. I mean, I have picked up so many different insights around listening, indeed eavesdropping at a completely new level. I mean, the points that we're making around how you separate what that information is telling you. I really, that point you said around from ambassador to the person who's just come in to viewer, and trying to figure out the scale is going to be incredible. And the better we become at deciphering all these messages is how we're going to build bigger, greater, better brands and, better content for the world to consume. And so with that, I say thank you so much to my, I call the confessions of the social listeners. Thank you, all of you, for your confessions. And indeed, social listening is the way we have to go. Thank you so much.